Hello and welcome once more to another edition of Crossroads Check-In, your regular look back at the Midlands' favourite daily serial, which you can see Monday to Saturday at 9 p.m. right here on Big Centre TV. Checking in with us this week will be Jane Rossington. She'll be taking us back once more to the early years of Crossroads. We'll be looking at some of the things you've been talking to us about recently, and we'll be taking our regular look back at the past week and forward to next week too. And if you do want to talk to us about anything at all to do with Crossroads, then why not give us a shout? You know where we are, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Just do a search for Big Centre TV. And if you want to email us direct, then it's crossroads@bigcentre.tv. Oh, and if you fancy putting pen to paper, then you can post your memories, a novel approach these days, to Crossroads Check-In, Big Centre TV, 14A, Lower Hall Lane, Walsall, WS1 1RL. Okay, let's take a look at some of the messages we've received recently, and don't worry if you've been in touch and we haven't mentioned you yet. There's so many of them coming in at the moment. I'm sorry we can't always send you a reply, but we'll hopefully get around to you on the show eventually. Now, Anthony Beachley has asked us a question on our Facebook page. Would Lee know who this character was? She had brown hair and glasses and was Wilf's dance partner. They won a cup, which Amy got jealous over. I think I remember her working in the salon. Also, there's a famous pic of an angry Anne George when she was axed outside the studios. Do you have a link to the pic? Well, I don't know a lot about the Anne George picture. It might have been in one of the old newspapers. Do you remember when this was, Anthony? Because although Anne left the show in the 70s, she did make a return to Crossroads in the mid-80s when she herself was in her 80s, not long before the original show ended. Anyway, better news on Wilf's dance partner. The character's name was Miss Thorpe and she was played by Kathleen Worth. Let's have a quick look at that storyline again. We showed it recently, but if anyone missed it, here it is again from episode 1674 from 1972.
Evening, ladies. What's it to be then? A nice sherry?
Yes, please.
Ah, and I'll have a scotch.
You going to watch his old-time razzmatazz as well?
Watch it? We're in it.
And you're his dancing partner, you never said.
Mr. Harvey wanted it kept secret.
I bet he did.
Well, you said the other day you never wanted to hear his name again, so I wouldn't have mentioned it anyway after that.
How about that then? We came in third, thanks to my partner.
Congratulations.
Ah, so we'll have a sherry and a scotch if you don't mind. Bit of a celebration.
Oh, well, I should have thought champagne.
Oh, there's no need to go mad.
Oh, I think I prefer sherry.
Oh, you could have champagne.
Well, perhaps...
But as you prefer sherry, I won't pressure. Well, come on, son, let's be having them then.
Sure.
Hey, you know where I'm going to put this? With the rest of the cups I won at Pigeons. Pride of place.
We'll have 2 gin and tonics over on the table, please.
Oh, yeah, okay, Amy.
Dear, I'm afraid I've upset them.
It's not your fault, is it, Mr. Harvey? Take no notice. There you are. On the house.
Oh.
I'll take for the scotch. Miss Thorpe, you enjoy yourself. Be happy.
I am very happy. Hello, Mr. Harvey.
I hoped I'd find you.
What is it?
I've been thinking.
Yes?
Well, as I see it, you did more than me to win that cup.
Oh, don't be silly.
Oh, but you did, you know.
We were partners.
Look, I've never been one to hide my light under a bushel, as you might say. I'm a pretty good dancer, but I reckon you could give me 1 or 2 lessons. There's no doubt in my mind you won that cup for us. So here,
What is it?
something you're more entitled to. It's the cup. It's yours. For keeps.
I thought I'd do the sweeping while you're not busy.
Oh, thank you. How did the dancing go last night?
Oh, didn't you hear? Mr. Harvey and I, we came third.
Honest? Congratulations.
Would you like to see the cup?
Love to.
There. Isn't it lovely?
Certainly is. That's something to be proud of.
Oh, it was wonderful. I was so nervous at first, and then when we started dancing, I just enjoyed it and forgot to be nervous. Of course, Mr. Harvey helped. He's so full of confidence.
Yes, indeed. You can't keep Wilf down. Well, if you'll excuse me, I've got some work to do in the office.
So it's true then? The old fool did give it you. I just heard.
Oh, I do hope you're not offended.
Me? Why should I be?
Well, at first you seemed upset, even angry. Oh, please don't be. You see, I've never won anything before.
Of course I ain't angry. I'm only too pleased he's give it you. It's probably the only decent thing he's ever done in his life. Oh, you deserve it, love. Honestly, I'm ever so glad for you.
Kathleen Worth there playing Miss Thorpe, and Kathleen has been in plenty of well-known TV shows over the years. Crossroads was one of her early appearances, which was followed by a period as Mrs Hawker in Emmerdale Farm in 1978. Now, Kathleen later turned up in Armchair Thriller in 1980, Grange Hill in 1981, Last of the Summer Wine and First of the Summer Wine both in 1989, and then during the 90s she could be seen in Lovejoy, The Bill, Heartbeat, Casualty, and finally around 10 years ago she was in DL and Pasco. Well, thanks, Anthony. Nice to see that storyline again. Next, we've had an email from Greg Shanley, who says, "One of my favourite characters on Crossroads was Diane. She had such a cheeriness despite things not working out, and her friendships with Vera and later Sharon were legendary. The show wasn't the same after Diane was killed off. When I got the 45th anniversary DVD set of Crossroads, the storyline I found really moving was Vera's long-lost son getting in touch. Apparently those tapes still exist, thanks to the late Zeph Gladstone, who played Vera. Getting copies of them and then giving them to the archives when she heard of how little of Crossroads had survived. The episodes surrounding Sandy's accident in 1972 are excellent, and I defy anyone who knocks the show not to be moved by Noel Gordon and Roger Tong's acting. I can remember the teacher-pupil love affair storyline with Richard Lord and Lucy Hamilton in 1977. That's all wiped now. I much preferred the Meg Mortimer era with Sandy and Jill. All the 1980s stuff about big business was dull. I also liked Amy Turtle and then later Doris Luke, and who didn't love Benny? Wow, plenty to go through there. And Greg made a good point about the missing episodes. Now, you'll remember, as I've said before, that a load of the earlier episodes of Crossroads don't exist anymore because their original master tapes were either wiped or lost. And this was often because nobody thought they'd ever be needed again. Oh, how wrong they were. Now, you'd be surprised to know that there are apparently still a few episodes missing all the way up until 1981. So here's a thought. Did you enjoy Crossroads years ago? Did you ever record any of the episodes? Well, if you did, do you still have them? If you do, get in touch. You might have something a bit special. Hey, if we can manage to find an old episode that hasn't been seen on the telly for years, then we might be able to show it to you right here on Big Centre TV. Oh, and with that in mind, do watch this space over the next couple of weeks. And if you have your own Crossroads story to tell, maybe you met the stars, maybe you've got this nagging memory of a storyline, maybe you can fill in the gaps between episodes, maybe you've got some photos of something to do with Crossroads, maybe you've kept your memorabilia safe all these years later. Or if you just want to tell us what you think of the show, please do keep them coming in. Plenty of ways you can get in touch. Take your pick. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Just do a search for Big Centre TV on all of them. Or you can use the hashtag BCTV Crossroads to highlight your message. The email address, if you want it, crossroads@bigcentre.tv. And finally, if you like a bit of old school and fancy writing us an actual letter, that's no problem at all. The address, Crossroads Check-in, Big Centre TV, 14A, Lower Hall Lane, Walsall, WS1 1RL. OK, still to come in today's show, we've got our all-important preview of what you hopefully should be seeing during the coming week right here on Big Centre TV. Plus, Jane Rossington checks in with us once more for a chat in the lounge. Now though, it's time to look back across the week at what's been happening in and around our favourite motel.
I rang your Aunt Bertha.
Oh.
We had a long chat. Seems you haven't been entirely straight with me.
Hey?
About the way she treated you.
What did she say?
Well, to put it bluntly, that you're a right little tearaway. That you went out nearly every night with a gang on motorcycles. That you brought girls back and set up drinking and doing God knows what. Shall I go on? I wasn't going to bother to tell you this, but it seems our Martin played his old aunt a merry tune.
He told me.
He did?
Look, the real reason that he went with those friends and drank and things was because he was so miserable. But you wouldn't understand.
All right, calm down. Now, what did he have to be so miserable about?
Well, wouldn't you be stuck out in the middle of nowhere with only a nagging old aunt nattering at you all day long? He just rebelled against her strictness, that's all. And he admits it if you bother to talk to him.
Well, I have talked to him.
When? Not properly.
Hello. Oh, going to be a mother soon too, I see.
Yes.
You first?
Yes, my first.
Take my advice, dear. Don't stop at one.
Thank you.
When are you expecting it?
Soon?
And what are you hoping for, a boy or a girl?
Neither.
Just so long as it's a baby, hmm?
Oh, I'm sure it will be.
Yes, of course.
She's kind, she's considerate, but everything's getting out of hand.
What do you mean?
The wedding arrangements, you and me, we decided on a nice, quiet little affair, no fuss, but now...
Look, she's doing her best for us, Don.
No, love, it's just...
Just what?
Well, that I'm not allowed to make any decisions anymore. House was the last straw.
And what else?
The wedding, where we live, how we live. Just about everything else we're going to do.
And we'll be looking forward to what's coming up next week in part 2. Right, we're just going to take a short break now, but don't go anywhere, because in part 2 we'll be taking a good look ahead to what's coming up on Crossroads during next week. And Jane Rossington will be back with more of her memories of the early years. So we'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Crossroads Check-In here on Big Centre TV. Still to come, we'll be having a look ahead to some of the episodes you can expect to see this coming week on Big Centre TV. But first it's time to pop through to the lounge once more to check in with Crossroads' very own Jane Rossington. So you're there in the studio, you can hear everything that's going on in each individual scene. You can hear the music at the start, the music at the end, it's all there?
Sometimes it was, no, I wouldn't say it was always there.
Right.
Sometimes it was awful. You'd get a kind of out the corner of your eye, and we'd all sort of stop, and we didn't quite know. And then they'd say, and they'd be talking, a bit of talking, go, it's okay, right, fine, that was fine, we're very happy with that, on to the next, on to part 2, which was great. But sometimes there was, no, we've got a bit of a problem. We saw something when the door opened, or something like that, you know, and then you'd probably have to do it again.
Because of course that was a major upheaval as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because of the way that it was recorded.
Yeah. You see, the time scale was we used to come in, oh, and in those days, we had so much makeup to put on. We had these really bright lights that wiped you out and made you just look nothing. So you had stacks of makeup on, and we used to get in about 7:30, 7:45, 8 o'clock, whatever. If I got first call, I'd probably be in at 7:30. Sit there, I'd be made up. And it used to take forever. I used to paint all this stuff on. And so the first thing you'd do, you'd start on camera at 9 o'clock. You'd rehearse, so this is studio days, and you'd work through with just walk it through with the cameras and the technicians who were going to say, oh, I see, and I'll be over there, right, fine, and okay. And they would bring up anything that might not work. So that used to take about half an hour, so quite quick. So we're sort of walking around and sort of say, I'll be here, okay, and blah, 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 blah. And we used to do that, do it very fast. Then I'll be over there now, I've gone through the door, I've picked this up, and then I'm off, or whatever. You know. So that, and then, so we've got to sort of lunch, about 12:30 we did a dress run in the clothes, because sometimes you've also got to get changed sometimes, and get props and all that kind of thing. So the idea was to go for a take on which we did not stop, but we only went from the beginning to end of part 1, then we did beginning of part 2 to the end of part 2. That was one episode. So once you get all that in so we'd start that at 1 o'clock, want to be finished by 1:45. So you've got a spare bit of time, but not very much. Yeah. And people got to get changed and things like that. And sorts, and we'd all got, and prop boys were wonderful, but occasionally one did walk off and say, I'll bring the tea, and I'd pick the tray up, and it was most definitely not a teapot. It was a coffee pot, and you put it down, and somebody would raise an eyebrow, but you carried on. And then I'd say, what happened to the teapot? I said, I don't know, couldn't find it.
And Jane will be with us again in a couple of weeks' time. Next week, we'll take another look behind the scenes at some of those locations they used on Crossroads with John Drury. OK, now it's time to look ahead to what we can expect during the coming week's episodes of Crossroads right here on Big Centre TV. And as ever, do remember that there are probably some potential spoilers ahead. Episode 1978 from September 1973. Martin is concerned for his prospects and convinces Jane that he's on the run from the mafia. Don's impending mother-in-law trouble increases, and Amy tells Hugh a secret.
Actually, I'm glad Vera's gone. I wanted to ask your advice.
What about?
A fella called Randall.
Randall?
Yeah. Afraid he's a bit of a wide boy. In fact, Vera could sum him up in 5 seconds flat. You know, racehorses, gambling casinos, that sort of thing. Mafia stuff.
Mafia? What's a man like that got to do with you?
Well, that's the trouble, see. Before I came here, I got mixed up with some of these characters, and Randall offered me a job with him if I didn't like it here with Vera. Oh, I know it's asking for trouble to work for him, but, well, if Vera chucks me out, I've got to go somewhere, haven't I?
Episode 1979 from September 1973. David makes a faux pas with a Swedish VIP who just happens to be female, blonde and gorgeous. Vera lays down the law to Martin and threatens to throw him out.
You don't want to stay here?
Oh, it's not that, Sandy. I'd love to stay
What
here.
then?
Well, it's the money. I mean, I couldn't afford it for a start.
How much did you pay at the hostel?
£6.
All right. You pay £6 here. What's the difference?
About 24 that you'd normally charge, that's all. No, really, Sandy.
Look, you won't be staying in the chalet. You can have my old room at the top of the stairs. It's all fixed with Mum. Anyway, I often have friends come to stay. I told you had a spot of bother with your digs and you needed somewhere to stay for a while. She doesn't mind at all.
Episode 1980 from September 1973. Amy is appalled at the lack of gossip currently emanating from the kitchen. Sandy finds out that the anniversary of the motel opening is imminent and plans a surprise for his mother.
I've come for your tray, Mrs. Cunningham.
Oh, thank you.
Oh! Mrs. Whitten, really?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, come on, it's not as bad as all that.
Oh, isn't it?
Something wrong in the kitchen?
No, it's not in the kitchen.
Well, look, whatever it is, if there's anything I can do, you know.
No, thank you, there's nothing.
Episode 1981 from September 1973. Plans for Sandy's anniversary party proceed apace, but keeping the secret from Meg is harder than he anticipated. Mrs. Whitten teeters on the edge of a nervous breakdown and tries to hand in her notice to Meg.
Jill, Amy's insisting on playing that flaming piano tonight.
Well, as long as she doesn't play it here.
Oh, Mrs. Richardson, I didn't see you there. Oh, I'll go and tell her.
Where were we?
1 dozen scotch, 2 dozen gin.
By the way, have you seen Mr. Lovejoy anywhere?
I think he's in the office. Why?
Oh, no reason. He just seems to be avoiding me, that's all.
Oh, 2 dozen brandy. She's been like that for 2 days now. Do you think there's trouble at home?
How should I know?
Funny.
Episode 2012 from November 1973. David finds Mrs. Bullock collapsed on the floor with a head injury. A problem with 2 Oriental guests who can't speak English is solved by Mrs. Cunningham, who speaks English at them loudly and clearly.
What happened?
All right, Mrs. Bullock.
How did I get down here?
Hold on. Come on, let me see. Come on. All right, all right. Hold on. Come on. Come on. There we are. Just lie quietly and I'll go and get a blanket.
It was all that rubble. I couldn't find where to put my feet.
Episode 2013 is from November 1973, in which Jill feels guilty after telling Sheila that Roy has been looking for her. And Vince feels guilty as he knows he can't adequately provide for the new flat now that he and Diane have got back together again.
I'm sorry I bothered you, but Mr. Hunter's not back yet.
No, and he won't be back for another hour. He's got a problem over at his cottage. The old lady there fell down, had an accident.
Mrs. Bullock?
Yes, but she's all right now, I think.
Do you know, she said something like that would happen when I went over the other day. She said it's a wonder she hasn't broken a leg with all that rubbish.
Yes, dear. Well, she hasn't broken her leg, has she? No. And how's your cold? Is it any better?
Oh, yes, it's all right, thanks, yes.
Good.
I'll see you later then, Jill. Oh, yes, Jane. Well, I suppose I'd better get back to Stan.
All right, love.
Mum, about Sheila.
What about Sheila?
Well, do you think I was wrong to tell her that Roy Mollison had been here and was asking about her and the baby?
Well, someone would have told her.
Would you?
Well, why not? I don't want her to think there's a conspiracy of silence about Roy.
Yes. Yes, you're right. Anyway, look, when David gets back, why don't you come over and have a coffee with Stan and me tonight?
So there you go, that's all to come on Crossroads right here on Big Centre TV every night at 9. Well, we've run out of time once again on Crossroads Check-In, but I'll be back at the same time next week. Remember, if you want to get in touch, we're all over social media. Big Centre TV is what you look for. Email crossroads@Big Centre TV, or the postal address is Crossroads Check-In, Big Centre TV, 14A, Lower Hall Lane, Walsall, WS1 1RL. Oh, and a quick heads up. You won't want to miss next week's Crossroads Check-In because we have something a little special to show you. Something that hasn't been broadcast on television for over 40 years. So I'll leave you with that cliffhanger until next week. See you soon. Hello? Oh, you've got the tape. Great. Well, keep it safe. We'll be playing it next week.